Hi, and welcome back to Grassroots Crypto. Well, I like to teach people about crypto, and in this video, I'll be doing a June THORChain update. And as usual, I'll be going over the last couple of months, looking back to what's happening. We're going to go through some of the highlights as well as the release walkthrough and what's happened, and then looking forward, the next couple of releases as well as some of the other things on the roadmap. There's a lot to get through. We'll be going through all of these tabs, so let's get started. So first, looking back, we had the TCY launch. Here's the launch article. It's got lots of information regarding TCY, as well as I did a video here that explains in a lot more detail what TCY is, the claim process, staking, as well as unstaking, all that type of stuff. Then we've had Raise the Bond campaign, and that's looked to increase the amount of nodes as well as bonds into the net. If we go to Rune Tools, we can have a look at the status of the network. There's been more bond that's been added compared to where it was in my last video. However, it's still under bonded. There's still more Rune required. If you go here, we can see there's 117 nodes that's been added. That obviously dropped down quite a bit earlier on the year. And part of the campaign is to add more bond as well as to increase the number of node operators. As part of an effort to do this, there is a Rune bond that helps connect people that are looking for nodes in order to bond to earn yield, as well as node operators that are looking for people to add Rune to their node. So that'll help increase this number. And then the bond wars will start once we get to 120, because there's obviously a cap of 120 nodes. So that's the Raise the Bond campaign. Then we have the Kuji switch. So that's the merge, moving from the Kujira type of ecosystem of tokens through to the Ruji ecosystem. There's some more information in this link. You can see it's part of the decay. So if you haven't done that already, I suggest you get into that straight away, because the amount of tokens you're going to get is starting to go down as time goes on. The L1 slip fee was reduced. It was at 8, now it's gone down to 5, and I think there's a vote, it might have passed already, to bring it back up to 8, but either way that happened. So in April, Nine Realms got a new CEO, new leadership team, and as well as some new developers, and that's really helped set the tone for THORChain. More predictable release structure and so on, which I think is a good thing. And you can listen to a space with Simon, the new CEO, to get a bit more of an understanding of what he's all about and talking about his background. So I found it quite positive. You can check that out here. Then we have the big community announcement, and THORChain University has been rebranded to the THORChain Community. There's a whole Discord server for them, and the idea is then to take a lot of the general conversation that tries to happen in the THORChain dev Discord that people don't necessarily like to have, can be moved into the THORChain Community Discord, where people are free and open to have whatever type of discussions they want. They've also got their Medium articles here that has a lot of the updates here. It's just like a monthly update, which I did use to help put this video together, so thank you to them. So if you're not already a part of the THORChain Community Discord, get a part of it. You can get in there and chat, ask any questions you want, general questions, and you won't be shut down by mods because you're not talking about development stuff. And as we talked about before, there's been quite a few spaces. It's an effort to get through them, to be honest. So loads of information from general updates, as well as discussions on THORChain as well. Lots of information you can get from these podcasts. Lastly, I wanted to say Ruji has been released. So we've got the Index, Perps, and Trades. This is my understanding that has been released so far, and then lending and liquidations are to come. We're going to be talking more about Index and Perps as we go through the release walkthrough. All right, so I'm going to be doing a release walkthrough from 3.4 through to 3.9. Understanding that 3.7 is out now. There's a lot to get through, so bear with me. So first we had 3.4. I'm just going to be pulling the highlights out that I haven't covered. We had a vote to change the effective security, and that essentially would put the incentive pendulum back to where it would be. That also does favor, would have moved the incentive pendulum back towards the underbonded state, but it's more how things should have been in the first place. So that happened around that time of 3.4, but it wasn't an actual change. Then we had the Ruji merge contract permission. So this was laying the foundation for the Ruji merge contract, which we talked about before. So if you have merged your Kujira tokens and all the other related tokens, make sure you do that. XRP chain was added in 3.4, and that was laying the groundwork. There was a few changes in subsequent releases, but that was the main code for it. The base tokens were whitelisted. These were adding, the ability to work with these base tokens after base was launched earlier on in the year. And there's heaps more whitelist updates that have occurred in subsequent releases. Then there was 3.5, and I'll leave a link here. It goes through it pretty good. We had release 3.5. Here's all the merge requests. The big ones were the TVL can be pinned to total securities relative to basis points. So then essentially you can take the security posture, and then you can have a basis points increase or decrease in order to set the hard cap. So this is sort of adjusting the security posture instead of just relying on the incentive pendulum, which is obviously a bit underbonded at the moment. The Ruji contract launch permission. So this is then doing the trade, the pools, as well as we've got staking, revenue, and some of the stuff for the merge, a bug fix for the merge. So again, laying the foundations in 3.5 for the particular Ruji layer that mostly went live in 3.7. There's also a Bifrost refactor, and that Bifrost is what's used to observe what's happening on external chains and then pass that information off to THORChain. And that has been about 100 times increase in the efficiency, reducing the amount of messages that the nodes use to talk to each other and that type of thing. So that then paves the way for reduced block times, high throughput, so I can observe more at once, as well as just a whole bunch of efficiencies within THORChain. So that was 3.5. We've got 3.6 here. Order books have been renamed to Advanced Swap Queue, because order books, it's really kind of only like order books against the pool, which is really then just going to be like, again, advanced swaps. This change is really just a rename, and I think either in 3.8 or 9 is when that feature gets tweaked a bit and potentially will be released. There's a new way to query all the whitelisted contracts. You can go along to this endpoint, which is really cool because you've got then kind of like the actual code for it, and then this is then the source location as part of the actual commit for the branch, that you can have a look at the code that was actually deployed. So going back to the Bifrost refactor, that laid the foundation to enable 2-second block times, and that was quite a large increase here. However, when that was implemented, block time seemed to blow out beyond the current 6 seconds, so that was reverted. Inside the same release, must have been some issues inside of StageNet, so hopefully things can get fixed up and that can get re-implemented. Then we had 3.7, and 3.7 is currently out, went out late last week. We've got the dates here for the releases, and we've got the releases here, so about the 18th of June. We have all of the actual MRs here. So there were some fixes for XRP. So then we have the Ruji Index, and that enables the foundation for it to be launched, and that enables you to buy kind of like an ETF, a basket of goods. You can read more information about Ruji Index here, and this is a bit of a demo site. The first one to be launched is Y-Rune, which is going to give you a split of TCY and Rune, and then the other one is going to be YTCY, which is essentially the inverse of that. And that enables you to add some assets here. So as an example, connect your wallet, add Rune, and then it'll do this automatic rebalancing to give you this split of exposure of those particular assets. And in the future, with the NAMI under the Rune banner, will enable you to have a basket, so you can buy, say, the top 5 coins or whatever, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever's connected, and then you can just have exposure to that to track an index, which is like an ETF, instead of buying those underlying assets themselves. Then there was Ruji Perpetual Futures, and that went live. You can read more about it here, and I mean, if you're not from a finance background, you might find this a bit difficult to understand. I probably need to do a dedicated video. I'm kind of learning myself, to be honest. The interface for it is live here. It's on mainnet, it's running. If you're familiar with it, go ahead, knock yourself out. There are some guardrails on it because I think it's using the THORChain pools as the price oracle. In other words, to get its price feeds. However, it's going to need enshrined oracles in order to run full scale. More information about enshrined oracles here. Essentially, it's going to get volume weighted. In other words, the more volume, the more trust it's going to put on it. volume weighted feeds from exchanges or price feeds from exchanges so that it can put an accurate price within perpetuals to ensure that you can't just manipulate the pool price and get a benefit. So it kind of closes an attack vector in simple terms. Like I said, a lot to learn about perpetuals, and it should be very big, because if you see this, if you have a look at all the stuff that's coming here, this is a direct competitor. Like Ruji is a direct competitor to like a Binance or another sophisticated centralized exchange, with all of its features being available to you in one hit. It's exciting to see it finally get here. All right, so enough about Ruji. Back to 3.7. We had skip TVL cap for native assets. So essentially things that are Rune, TCY, THOR, or Ruji won't count to the sort of like the pooled side, the things that need to be secured within THORChain. And that totally makes sense because it's assets living on the native blockchain. All right, so that's 3.7 and everything that's inside of mainnet right now. Now we're gonna go to the future stuff. So 3.8, which will be the next release. We have a pretty exciting one here, the ability to modify or cancel a limit swap. This is going to be a new memo type, but you can essentially change like an in-progress streaming swap to change, you know, the target amount and all this type of stuff whilst things are happening, which is pretty cool. EDDSA support should be coming in, and then after that Solana or any of the any other chains that rely on this. Now that has been merged, which is massively exciting. That's been open for 5 months, and that's actually, there's been a couple of different versions of this PR, so only like the latest one's been open for 5 months. So that's merged. I really hope we see this in 3.8. I really hope the testing goes well, because this has been attempted before and it didn't 100% work. That's why it's just taken so long to get this in. Then Tron client is slated for 3.8, the next release as well. That's the last of the chains, at least that GitLab are saying are in the next release. Then we have 3.9, which is 2 releases out, and this is quite subject to change. We have AdNoble, which is going to be a new chain. Here you can read more about it here, as well as add streaming swap support to advanced swap queue. So the advanced swap queue, as we talked about in the previous releases, is the renamed order book. So there's some more information here. I haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty details yet, but something exciting to look forward to. So that's 3.7, 3.8, and a bit of 3.9. The only thing I didn't cover was add secured assets to LP and deposit and withdrawal. Didn't show the MR on that, but that's actually that's happening. That's what GitHub says. The only other thing perhaps potentially in 3.9 is going to be Solana, as well as other chains that rely on EDDSA, but would have to wait until 3.8 and this goes in before we would expect potentially to see Solana, because they want this one to bake. So that's the video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Obviously it takes a large amount of research to put these type of videos together. If you have any questions, queries, put them in the comment section below. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.